You know, and the other day I was going down the road and I was driving and I heard them talking about that the bears in Tahoe, California have started coming out the forest and attacking people. And they said the bears have gotten so hungry and pushed so much out of their habitat that they're knocking people's doors down and coming in their house, coming in their kitchen and stuff and taking food. And I mean, you know, I'm just picturing, you know, you get out of the city, you get away from all the violence and everything, and you go to the country, and then all of a sudden you get mugged by bears. You know, I mean, who expects a bear to be hanging around a tree and all of a sudden he come up on you, give me that sandwich? You know what I'm saying? And then they got nerve enough, they're knocking people's door down. They ain't even knocking, they just come in and kick your door down. And they said they haven't bit any people or attacked any people, they just go for the refrigerator. You know, and the bear just goes in, he knows where food's at, he opens your refrigerator, they eat till they're full and then they leave. You know, and that amazes me. Another thing about camping, you know, when you go to these campings, like places like Yogi Bear and all these different places, and you get out there and people got double wide mobile homes with satellite TV and a swimming pool in the back, and they got microwaves and all these things. They got jacuzzi tubs and all this, and they're talking about they roughing it. Yeah, I mean, they have more, some of them have more things than I have at home. In these mobile homes and stuff, they got a $250,000 mobile home sitting there with everything in it, and they're going out to the woods to rough it for the weekend. I tell you, you want to rough it, y'all need to go over to Cabini Green, and y'all need to go, I can show you how to rough it for the weekend. Come on and go down to East LA. We'll show you how to rough it for the weekend. And you ain't got to worry about your workout, just walk down the street with a few $100s hanging out your pocket. You get your jog in and all that, you're running, you're jumping, hopping over cars, you know, it's not that big of a thing. If people want to work out, it's not that hard. But, you know, I'm just amazed that all the time, you know, I got some friends of mine that are hunters, and now deer season is coming up in Illinois. And they amaze me how these hunters and how much money they spend on hunting. For one thing, they buy all this camouflage material and uniforms, and they paint their face all up, and then they smear themselves with deer in heat pea, you know, and all this other stuff, you know, and then they hiding behind the trees and ducking and diving, and they got telescopes and automatic rifles and laser rifles. You're going through all this to shoot down a deer. I mean, that ain't even fair. You know, I mean, come on, man. The caveman had to throw rocks or whatever, you know, and all that stuff. And they out here, when they go fishing, they got sonar and depth finders and computers to tell you where the school of fish is at, and they tell you what day to fish on and when the moon is right for bass, when the moon is right for trout. What happened to all the skill in fishing and hunting? I mean, you know, these people today, they just crack me up. You see them riding around with an old beat-up pickup truck, 4x4, of course, you know, with the window back out and God bless Bush bumper sticker on the back. you know, all that stuff. You know, they head towards the woods, and I'm passing them riding through Wisconsin. They all covered with mud and dirt and everything, and then they go out here and buy what they call a deer stand. Now, deer stand allows you to be 15 feet above the ground, so the deer can't smell you when he's coming up. He won't catch you downwind. So now you got to climb 15 feet up, get on the deer stand with your deer smelling like deer and heat pea on you, and then you got all this other stuff, and then you're waiting for a deer to come by. And then the ones that really get me is the bow hunters, because they take a bow and an arrow and go hunting. So if you take that bow and arrow and you shoot and the deer flinches at the last moment, and you shot a 16-point buck in the behind, he gonna have an attitude. So I don't know, you know, how quick you can load and reload, but I just picture this big deer coming back with 16 points headed back for you for that one stick that you gave him. And I believe he gonna get even, you know. And it just amazes me, these hunters are just, the money they spend, and you know, you catch them in Walmart, and they're standing there with their eyes glassing over when they're looking at the shotguns and the ammunition and all this other stuff, and they're standing there talking about a 30-06 and a double-barrel shotgun and all this and all the things they're gonna buy and all the equipment they need. And then when they go fishing, they need the extra stinky, smelly stuff. You know, some of that stuff, when you open up in the package, it would knock you out. I mean, it would just clean your sinuses out. I don't know who packed that stuff, who works there, and how they can smell that stuff. But you open that catfish bait, and it'll burn the hair off your eyebrows, I'm telling you. And I messed around and opened that stuff up in the store one time and didn't know what I was doing, and whoa, I went dizzy, and I thought I was going to have to call 911 to be revived. I'm telling you, for catfish bait. You know, so, and then another thing I watch with these deer hunters and these wild men. One of my favorite programs on TV is this guy called Man vs. Wild. And he's a guy named Bear. And I love catching him, because Bear is the type of guy that when he gets thirsty, he'll drink his own urine. You know, I've been thirsty time and time again in my life. But I never, no matter how much alcohol I had or other substances, I've never felt the need to drink my own urine to cure my thirst. I mean, that just blows my mind. This guy is so cold that when you see Bear, he's out there, one day he cut himself in the middle of the South American forest. He went and found a mercurochrome tree that has the red mercurochrome that you buy in the cabinet. He chewed on the bark till it became red, took the mercurochrome and put it on his sore, and he was straight. And then he found a tree that they get adhesive from for Band-Aids, and he chewed on some of that and made a Band-Aid for the thing, you know? So, you know, I mean, this is the kind of friend you need. If you running low on money or something, you at the club or whatever, you say, hey, man, won't you chew some of this paper here so we can pay our bills? You know, he a bad boy. Whatever you need, he can chew it and pay for it, you know? When you want a new car, just give Bear a pile of paper, tell him, I need about 10 grand, brother. Go to work. I mean, you know, because he can make anything. And then he cracks me up because he takes and he has a knife. He carries his knife and his flint rock. You know, when I was a Cub Scout for about 10 minutes, you know. I really, you know, we was a Cub Scout on the south side of Chicago. They say we going camping. They take you in the bottom of the church and string a blanket over a string in the bottom of the church, and they put on a flashlight with an orange thing on it like Halloween and tell you that's a campfire. You know? And then they want to take around, we got to get our tying knots badge. I couldn't tie knots for nothing, you know? I wait till the other dude get up and go to the bathroom and steal his knot stuff and switch it over there, you know? Line my little knots up, I'm through, you know? And I got my little knot badge, you know? So anyway, you know, it's just not me. So I'm watching this guy, Bear, and I watch him, he's at the top of this glacier, and you know, he's British or Australian, and he's talking about he's on a glacier. You know, okay, he's on a glacier, we be on glaciers. So anyway, he said, I need to get to the bottom. So he said, well, the easiest way to get to the bottom is just to slide. So he took, and he was sliding down the mountain as fast as he can. He started getting up to about 100 broken ski, and he's trying to drag the ski to slow himself down to get down to the bottom. Then he comes to the very edge of the cliff, and he's hanging there, you know, then the camera cuts. And then when you come back, you can see they just threw a hook out there and pulled his butt back in, you know, something, you know. Because, you know, when they come back, he's all right, you know. But, I mean, I've been watching him, and then another one of my favorite shows on, you know, you can tell you're getting older when you spend all your time watching the History Channel or the Discovery Channel and, you know, or TV Land. You know, you're sitting there watching Andy and Mayberry talking about how much junk today's TV is and it's no good and all that. That's how you really know you're getting old. You know, because I was watching the Discovery Channel, and they had my boy Dirty Jobs. They got this guy named Mike Rowe that does Dirty Jobs. They took and put Mike Rowe in a place where they make charcoal for barbecuing. And he said that was the dirtiest place he'd ever been in his life. I mean, people are making charcoal, burning wood until it gets to a certain point before it's burnt up, and then they make it charcoal. So he has to go in there and shove out all this black soot. He has to go in here and just dig all this stuff out. And he was totally black. I mean, he looked like a brother. He was a white dude. And he looked like a brother from Africa, too. You know, not one of them brothers from around the way. I mean, he was blue-black. He went with that charcoal all over him. And as I was looking at this dude, you know, and he's standing there just covered in charcoal and dirt. And the man told him, well, we ain't got to the dirty part yet. He said, we got to clean out the bottom of the pit. And they took it down. He said, you got to be kidding. And the man said, well, you got a mask or anything? Mask? We don't need no mask around here. He said, anything natural's healthy. You know, the man's going to tell him because the charcoal was made off of wood is healthy. And he's been said, I've been working here all my life. I ain't got a problem. You know, all that. He's talking about, man, you can get black lung from that. And dude's like, we don't have nothing like that. That's just a waste of money. So they threw him in there, and he's shoveling out coal, and he's shoveling and coughing and weaving and heaving and upchucking and everything. And when he come back out, and then the man asked him, you won't come back for another week? He said, no, that's all right. We only do these jobs one time. You know, he was letting him know. And so, you know, another thing I like about the Discovery Channel, you get your jog in and all that. You're running, you're jumping, hopping over cars, you know. You went and found a mercurochrome tree that has the red mercurochrome that you ski. He's trying to drag the ski to slow himself down to get